On Saturday, October 26th, the Giants had reason to smile, while the Angels had reasons to worry, and these were largely the same reasons. The Giants were one game away from winning the championship. They had the momentum on their side, having scored 16 runs in the previous game. Meanwhile, the Angels' pitching staff was in a mess. Neither starters nor the bullpen have been able to keep the Giants off the scoreboard for the last two games. Kevin Appier, having allowed 5 runs in 2 innings of work in his last start, had reasons to worry as well. But Russ Ortiz did not pitch well in his last start either, and he had something to prove. The 44,500 in attendance would see a rematch of Game 2. The game began just before 4 p.m. Tim McClelland was calling the balls and strikes, Jerry Crawford was at first, Angel Hernandez at second, Tim Shida at third, Mike Winters and Mike Riley were in the outfield. Both pitchers improved upon their Game 2 performances. Kevin Appier allowed a 2-out single to Jeff Kent and walked Barry Bonds intentionally, but Benito Santiago popped out to first to end the inning. Russ Ortiz pitched a 1-2-3 inning a frame later. Kevin Appier continued to cruise until the 4th inning, limiting the Giants to 2 more walks, one of them to Barry Bonds. Ortiz, in the same span, allowed just 1 hit and 1 walk, keeping the game scoreless. The Giants finally got to Appier in the 5th. With 1 out, David Bell hit an infield single. The next batter, 39-year-old designated hitter Sean Dunston, hit a home run. Kenny Lofton followed up with a deadbolt to center. This was the last hit allowed by Appier, as he was removed by Scioscia in favor of Francisco Rodriguez. With the 1-2 count on Rich Aurilia, Kenny Lofton stole third. Aurilia hit the next pitch for a weak grounder, which proved to be insufficient to knock in Lofton, but a wild pitch to Jeff Kent allowed Lofton to score. At the end of the frame, the Giants had a respectable lead. Rodriguez stumbled again in the top of the 6th. Barry Bonds hit K-Rod's second pitch over the wall for his 4th series home run. Rodriguez allowed 1 more hit, but got out of the inning without further damage. Giants scored again in the 7th. With 1 out, Kenny Lofton hit a single to right. Lofton immediately stole second and advanced to third on a throwing error by Benji Molina. Rodriguez struck out Rich Aurilia, but allowed a single to Jeff Kent, and Lofton scored again. Russ Ortiz, meanwhile, continued to pitch effectively, allowing just 2 more base runners in the 5th and the 6th. In the 7th, Ortiz allowed 2 one-out singles to Troy Glaus and Brad Fulmer. Dusty Baker did not want to risk it and removed Ortiz, bringing in Felix Rodriguez in relief. What happened next was perhaps the most critical moment in the series. Rodriguez worked up a full count against Scott Spezia. Spezia was doing everything he could to keep the at-bat going, fouling off numerous outside pitches. Rodriguez finally threw inside, and Spezia hit a weak home run to right field. Rodriguez followed up by striking out Orlando Palmeiro before being removed in favor of Scott Eyre. Eyre allowed a single to Adam Kennedy and was substituted by Tim Worrell, who ended the frame by striking out Eckstein. Brendan Donnelly pitched a scoreless 8th for the Angels. Tim Worrell would not be so lucky. Darren Erstad hit Worrell's 3rd pitch for a home run, bringing the Angels within 1 run of tying the game. Tim Salmon and Garrett Anderson followed up with singles. In came Rob Den. Stellar for most of the season, he was the Giants' last hope. But his torn rotator cuff finally caught up to him. Troy Glaus hit the ball to left. Doug Glaus doubled, knocking in both runners. Nen, to his credit, pitched the rest of the frame, striking out 2 batters. But this would be his last game. Troy Percival replaced Brendan Donnelly in the 9th, retiring the side in order. The Giants blew a 5-run lead and the Angels forced Game 7. Kevin Appier turned in a better performance but could not hold off the Giants' offense. Even K-Rod gave some ground, but thanks to the late surge, the Angels came out on top. Russ Ortiz, also playing his last game in the Giants uniform, pitched a good game, but the Giants' bullpen, effective for most of the year and stellar in the last 2 games of the series, underwent a historic collapse.